Welcome to Making Sense of the Madness. We are about to dive into the deep state with Zach Payne. We're going to be talking about the second Trump assassination attempt. Diddy done got arrested, exploding pagers, and so much more. My man Massie hitting the scene and talking about the theater of politics. After that, we got Danny Rosenberg talking about your financials. You're not going to want to miss it. Buckle up and get ready to make sense of the madness. And we are back. We are joined by Zach Payne. My friend, a lot to talk about. A lot's happened already. Certainly. Since the last, I think we talked twice last week, and still a ton has happened. We have this second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Now, I want to start with the way the media frames it in the very beginning, okay? So I see this thing. I got it sent by a buddy. I'm actually editing one of my older videos, and I'm about to put it out. He goes, hey, it looks like they shot at Trump again. I click on the link. Shots fired outside of golf course.
In vicinity.
Yes, in apparent altercation. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, then the second one massages it a little bit more. Possible shots fired at Trump in second attempt on his life, ushered away. Finally, by like the third version of the story, it was now apparent there was an assassination attempt on the guy. Now, I would say, at least in this case, within a couple hours, we get a press conference. This guy gets arrested. Local law enforcement, again, is the one that tracks him down. We get body cam footage immediately of this incident. Of course, all the social media stuff is scrubbed within minutes, but people find it pretty quickly. This man, if you watch that Newsweek interview he did from a couple years ago, has a severely childlike mind and is a parrot repeater of every talking point. I mean, the way he leads it, Zach, is that there are these other conflicts in the world that are gray. This one's not. It's good versus evil. Yeah, okay. That should tell you everything you need to know. He's got his hair dyed down the middle to look like the Ukrainian flag. I mean, this guy's over the top. And look, I always hold judgment for what actually happened in this case, but it does seem like somehow he knew when to be there, where to be, penetrated base security. And as far as we know, he did not get off a shot this time. That's what we're being told. It was actually the Secret Service that fired first. If that isn't the case, my problem is, and I'm not saying that this isn't real or anything, but if there's several shots, are you telling me that none of them hit this guy? You're the Secret Service. Even if you just have the gun pointing out, are you telling me that, again, the Secret Service didn't hit him once if they fired 3-4 times? Because they didn't hit him. He fled, and obviously he left a lot of stuff there, including the gun, apparently. So there's really a lot of questions surrounding this, and I know I've been on a rant, but not the least of which are headlines like this that are literally from today. CNN, Trump pivots from second apparent assassin. Yes, no, the guy was hunting deer on the golf course. Apparent assassination attempt to more incendiary claims. You can't make this stuff up, my man. So let's get the full spectrum analysis from Zach Payne.
Well, you know, even more than these headlines, I mean, the people in the mainstream media and even Karine Jean-Pierre, they have doubled down on the divisive rhetoric about Donald Trump, his danger to democracy, the incendiary language. I'm sorry, I was getting a feedback loop there. The incendiary language that they're engaging in to describe Donald Trump. I mean, it truly is disgusting. But what strikes me as most unusual about this case is Ryan Routh's unusual history and his proximity to various players within the federal government, the Department of Defense, the State Department, Malcolm Nance. He was speaking with the Helsinki Commission. He was helping to get hundreds of millions of dollars appropriated to send over to Ukraine. He was in Azov Battalion propaganda videos. I mean, this man is a perfect sort of spook patsy, okay? The kind of person with a rich and varied criminal history going back many, many years. He was charged with possession of a weapon of mass destruction, Jason, back in 2000.
You know, I saw that. Let's stop for a second because, first of all, I hate the massaging of language, right?
Well,
and hold on, that's what I'm saying. What exactly was the quote-unquote weapon of mass destruction? And again, if it was so egregious, why in the world is this guy not in prison? Go ahead.
Well, so he was engaged in a standoff with police in Greensboro. First of all, he had no driver's license, he had no insurance, he had no current registration, and he had a gun on the passenger seat of the vehicle when he got pulled over for these offenses. There was a chase that ensued. He drove to his business. He barricaded himself inside his business. And apparently he had a machine gun that he did not have any registration for. He didn't have a proper tax stamp. And he had a bomb, okay? He had an operational blasting cap and a bomb, and it was there with him inside his business. Now, why did he not go to prison? I think he's a spook. I think they saw this guy and they're like, you know, this is exactly the kind of nutter that we can use for operations down the line. And Ryan Routh just walked away. He had interaction after interaction after interaction with the local police because most of them were nonviolent offenses. What they would do is they would kind of bundle them together, and then he would get maybe probation or he would get a fine. Nothing seemed to happen. But for the weapon of mass destruction, all right, I know, it is a little incendiary, but remember, it's a year after 9/11. Okay, it wasn't chemical, it wasn't radiological, it wasn't biological, none of that stuff, but it was still a bomb. And this guy clearly had some issues going on, but they decided to just let it go with probation. That doesn't normally happen. However, it's also been said by police officers that had current and ongoing interactions with Ryan Routh in Greensboro that he seemed to have the affect of a person who knew that he was untouchable. And this history seems to show that that certainly was the case. So 2002, the FBI, CIA potentially comes in. They say, oh, you know, this guy is easily somebody we can manipulate. He would definitely come in handy down the line. It wouldn't be the first time they've done it. I mean, they frequently will use patsy useful idiots. They will find people and then they will kind of manipulate them and allow them to just do whatever they want so that when they need to activate them down the line, they can go ahead and do it. Now, I just want to connect that to what you said earlier about his clear knowledge that President Trump was going to be at the golf course. This was not a planned stop. This was not posted on President Trump's public schedule. So the only thing that makes sense is that someone either in President Trump's Secret Service security detail or somebody at the DHS, perhaps somebody in President Trump's own campaign, let it be known to people who would want to do Trump harm that he was going to be on the golf course. Ryan Routh showed up at 1:30 in the morning the night before. They know that because of pings on his cell phone. And then he sat there all night and he waited. And one more thing, even worse than that, the little crow's nest that he had set up there, this was a known weak point on Trump International Golf Course. This is a spot where mainstream media photographers and paparazzi would frequently post up. And the Secret Service allegedly did a sweep of the area prior to even allowing Trump on the golf course. Well, Jason, I'm sorry, but if they would have done a sweep on the area, then they would have seen this guy. And so they only noticed him because he had a barrel sticking out of the foliage. I mean, come on. I mean, the only thing that makes sense is that Ryan Routh had inside help. And when you put together his connections to the DOD and the State Department and the government of Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it screams inside job again.
Well, let's also talk about the fact he was not a wealthy man, but somehow was able to go overseas quite frequently in flights that could cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $8,000. Allegedly, this is a guy that was making $30,000 a year. And, I don't love to get into social media posts, et cetera, but he seems like somebody that, at least from what I've seen, was from the anti-war ilk, and then for some reason bought into the mainstream media nonsense that Trump was pro-war, and then somehow goes into being pro-war because this isn't this isn't a gray conflict at all. I don't think it could be more gray if you look into the history of Ukraine and Russia and the social mores there, the language, the culture, the intermingling of everything, especially in the Donbass region. Forget about the historical precedent all the way back in 2014 of the Central Intelligence Agency, but we've talked about it. Soros groups, Hillary Clinton have been going there since the late 90s. So all of these things also scream to the fact that there's more to the story, my friend.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. I mean, it's quite obvious. There is something else going on here, something deeper. I'm a little perturbed that the FBI, the same agency that is trying to take Trump down right now, is going to be taking the lead on this investigation, even more so because the lead agent in charge there in Miami is an avowed Trump hater. Word on the street is that when he was elevated by Christopher Wray, he had to go into his LinkedIn and Facebook accounts and wash away all of his anti-Trump rhetoric. And he's also the agent that spearheaded that sort of ideological witch hunt that they went on at the FBI, sending out a questionnaire asking agents questions about their coworkers. Hey, how well do you know this person? Are they a Trump supporter? Did they have negative things to say about the COVID-19 vaccine? Have they ever talked about January 6th? I mean, even as soon as this guy came in, he was going around and trying to purge the agency of anybody who might be loyal to President Trump, or even just might be loyal to the idea of upholding the Constitution. I mean, he wanted to make sure that communist ideologues would be placed inside this agency so that when they needed to be activated, they would.
We got to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about Tom Massie. We're going to be playing this 6+ minute clip. I know it's tough out there. Everybody likes a soundbite, but he just so eloquently gets into the theater of modern day left-right politics, especially when it comes to not only our voting systems, but our budgeting system as well. It is pure gold, laced with diamonds, strapped in platinum. You're not gonna want to miss it. More Making Sense of the Madness after this.
The Donor Deck represents a groundbreaking independent crowdfunding initiative driven by patriots like you to bring back our esteemed President Donald J. Trump to office. With unwavering passion, we pledge all profits from the sale to MAGA Inc. and Fight Like a Flynn PAC. The exquisitely detailed challenge coin is a timeless collectible to be passed down to generations. It symbolizes your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. Get your Donor Deck now. Go to the Patriot.tv store and click on Donor Deck. Enjoy the magnificent artwork and scripture on each playing card, knowing our appreciation for your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. You'll get this keepsake collectible challenge coin acknowledging your support for Donald Trump's run back to the White House, and the Donor Deck of 52 exquisite playing cards, plus a beautiful display case to show your challenge coin. Go to the Patriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now. Attention business owners, are you ready to advertise to millions of loyal patriots ready to buy your products or services? Here is your golden chance to advertise with Jason Bermas and connect with his massive audience on Patriot TV and his incredibly loyal social media followers. As an advertiser on Making Sense of the Madness, you also reach his followers on the top social media sites. As Jason dives into complex current events and conspiracies, offering investigative analysis and thought-provoking discussions to uncover the deeper truths behind the headlines. When you advertise with Jason on Making Sense of the Madness, you're aligning your brand with integrity, loyalty, and a dedication to truth. Jason's audience is passionate, conservative, and committed to the values your business stands for. When given the choice, Jason's followers will buy your products or services over other woke companies. Don't miss this opportunity to elevate your brand with the power of Patriot TV. Reach out to us today at advertise@patriot.tv.
And we are back. We are joined by Zach Payne. And Zach, I'm just going to hit the clip. This is why I talk Massie up, because nobody else is talking like Thomas Massie. And things like this, everybody, they need to be said.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here. This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right here. It's all posturing, it's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. We always get a CR in September, and then we get an omnibus. Sometimes there's a twist on that. We might get the omnibus before Christmas, but if we're not good, it comes after Christmas. But that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. You know, we've got it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. What should we be doing? It's already been discussed. We should have done 12 separate bills. We should have done 12 separate bills. But again, whether Democrats are in control or Republicans are in control, we never do the 12 separate bills. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state, and Republicans want to grow the military-industrial complex. And we're eventually going to get together, and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1. Section 8 in the Constitution. We are empowered with these things. Most important of the things we do is the funding, and that's the big lever we have. You know, I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over-prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of, automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with, this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed. That is the tool that we have, is the funding. Why are we funding things we don't like? We don't have to. Well, it's because we're addicted to spending. And this doesn't do anything about the addiction at all. So let me touch on one point, too, here that I think is important. Is, you know, a couple years ago, or a summer and a half ago, I suppose now, we did something where we allowed the debt limit to be increased. But as a condition of that, we said if you do a CR that lasts past April 30th, everything's going to get cut 1%. And that, to me, seemed like at least a little tinge of fiscal responsibility was creeping in. But now I notice that this CR, instead of going 1 year and giving us time to do the 12 appropriations bills, is going to go 6 months. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen because this goes 6 months. Number one, it ends in March 28th, on March 28th. Well, the automatic cuts happen on April 30th if the CR went past that. So that is exactly why the Speaker chose a 6-month CR, is so we don't have even the chance, a threat to this town, it's a threat of a 1% cut. We don't want to even, this is like T-ball. The 1% cut is on the tee, and Republicans won't even swing at it. So instead, we're going to do a 6-month CR instead of a 1-year CR. That sets up another crisis next spring where we can do another pretend fight sometime around March. And that fight it'll be the same fight regardless of who wins the presidency and who's in charge of the Senate and the House. And we're basically going to get pretty much the same result. But that's 6 months from now. In the meantime, we can kick the can down the road. All of these things that we've exposed and all of these hearings are going to continue to get funded. But wait, there's a bright, shiny object on this CR. I've never seen one of these. I have never seen a bright, shiny object attached to one of these must-pass bills. Oh, wait, no. It actually happens. There always is. A bright, shiny object. A bauble, if you will. A little something to get excited about. This SAVE Act. It's going to save us all, right? And by the way, this is good political theater. I do like this part of it, that we're going to see almost every Democrat cast a vote so that illegals can vote in our elections. I mean, that's pretty clever on the part of our speaker to set that up, make you all take that vote. But here's what he's going to do after you take that vote. He's going to take it off. The bright, shiny object goes away. It's Lucy and the football again. And the American public is all revved up. Yeah, we're going to get to save it. We're going to save these elections. We're going to stop the illegals from voting. Really? How are you going to do that in like 6 weeks? I think they're already registered if they're going to vote. Some of them probably already voted. This SAVE Act ain't going to save anything. And particularly because it ain't ever going to become law. It's a false promise to get all the Republicans half pregnant. And then you're going to get fully pregnant by the end of September when you vote for this CR. That is not going to have this, I mean, I hate to break this to you. I mean, the Democrats already know this. I'm not telling you anything special. I hate to break it to the Republicans. You ain't getting the SAVE Act. It is not going to stay on this bill. Why? Because we're going to cave. We're going to cave. Is it a fight worth having? Absolutely, it's a fight worth having. Make those Democrats say they want illegals to vote. Make them take that vote as many times as you can. And then make them go to the ballot box in November. But that's what it is political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater.
I got to tell you, I smiled and giggled throughout that whole thing. And look, Massie also had to smile, revealing some very, very dark truths. So what did you think about? I know it was long, everybody, but sometimes we got to sit through things in the halls of government because it goes beyond the theater and it exposes the theater. And I think that is a grand slam, home run, humdinger, bottom of the ninth, booyah.
I have to agree with you, Jason. I played the whole thing on my show as well because I thought it was just as important. You know, it's so funny because within days of Thomas Massie having that time to speak in that committee meeting, Mike Johnson pulled the bill, and he pulled it just a couple of hours before it was set to be voted on, and it was all because of the SAVE Act. So I fully expect that the SAVE Act will not be on that continuing resolution. And even if it was on the continuing resolution, here there's talk of the Senate actually removing it from the bill before they pass the final version of it. So Thomas Massie is dead on. I mean, he's absolutely correct. I would hope that he would run for president someday, or in the absence of that, that perhaps there would be a place for him in President Trump's administration in a really high level capacity. I mean, I'm excited about what Elon Musk is planning to do, auditing the federal government. But like somebody like Massie, I think somebody like Massie would have the balls to do what needed to be done. And he's certainly not afraid to call out the lies and the manipulation when he sees it. And let's be honest. I mean, his wife is no longer with us. I mean, he's got one less thing left to lose. He's still got his kids. I mean, he's a brave man, and he's doing what most people are not willing to do. And I got to respect him for that.
You know, from the outset, as you know, Zach, I've talked about this man in a capacity of the next Trump administration, in a meaningful role. Yeah. Quite frankly, I think that he would do a better job of downsizing and auditing the government than Elon Musk. Because, again, no matter what you believe about Elon Musk, when it comes to the military-industrial complex, they ain't cutting the funding to SpaceX, everybody. I know we did the spacewalk. Hey, did anybody remember Putin talking about satellite systems in NATO and the United States being what's launching that war further into Russia? You know what he was alluding to, folks? Starlink. He was alluding to blackjack. That's what he was alluding to. And that's very, very Musker-nuts heavy. So, look, my skepticism is there, especially because this week we haven't heard a lot about the Russia-Ukraine conflict. That video I'm talking about with Putin, it went viral over the weekend, but it still has been, not largely, absolutely ignored by the mainstream media.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect nothing less from these people. I mean, right now, the only thing that people are going to be talking about for the next couple of days is the attempted assassination. And then, in order to cover for that, they're going to default back to the claims of dogs and cats being eaten in Springfield, obfuscate on the idea of that being some racist trope. But the truth is, it's real. It happens. You can talk to people from Haiti. You can read about it in history books. I mean, it exists. It's there. You've got people who are residents of Springfield who are suffering as a result of the illegals and the refugees being flooded into their communities. But the really important stuff, they're not going to talk about it. I mean, they love the fact that people like Ryan Routh exist, that are going to continue to do whatever they can to keep this conflict going. The mainstream media will continue to demonize Putin. They'll continue to lie about the reasons this war is even being fought. And they'll make it seem as if it is some noble gesture that the United States and NATO are going to be stepping in on behalf of them. It's a crazy, crazy world we live in. And as we get closer to November, I can only imagine it's going to get wilder and wilder.
So, speaking of wild, we've got exploding pagers. Now, let me preface this with there is a lot of mystery surrounding exactly what happened and how it happened. We do have some videos that appear to show explosions coming from people's bags and pockets. We've learned that children have also been killed. And if you read the AP article, they're saying that these devices somehow had explosives planted in them, perhaps from not the original factory where they were built, but a subsidiary that then brands them. We don't know that that's the case. However, we do know it has happened yet again. So this is, breaking today. It won't be by the time this airs. But again, they're saying now walkie-talkies are exploding. My question is, are we actually at a point where somehow, some way, through a back door, they are igniting the lithium batteries, and that is the explosive? If that is the case, every one of us is walking around with a potential bomb in our pocket. Now, I'll say this. Some devices are built a little different, right? I would imagine something like this beast, with metal and glass that's heavier is going to do more damage than your run-of-the-mill track phone that weighs about 2 ounces, and the majority of it's a lithium battery. Probably still won't tickle. Most of us carry it in our pocket, right next to our wang dangle. Maybe not the best place. What are your thoughts on this? Because the only person I really see hitting on it is like Alex Stein. Because I don't care what you believe about the conflict. We could get into that all day. If you can remotely detonate people's cell phones, this is a new level of warfare, and dare I say it, global terrorism.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was the first thing I thought, was that they had figured out some way to remotely detonate the lithium-ion batteries in these devices, because every single one of them would have one. I mean, how likely is it that every single member of Hamas overseas got a brand new pager on the same day, or even, in a time span close to each other? I mean, I think it's a lot more likely, given what we know about remote access to these devices. I mean, considering that they're connected to the internet, they have all kinds of electronics, and they operate on various frequencies and radio waves. It just seems natural to me that they would be able to access that to some degree so that they could perhaps overheat it or send a particular code, and then that code would, boom, launch whatever it was that was inside there. It's also possible that perhaps, maybe a year, 2 ago, when they started thinking about the future of this war, this conflict, I mean, like, hey, what if someday we were to be able to sneak in some tiny explosive devices into these pagers, into these phones, and then that would blow up the lithium-ion battery? Maybe, but I just think it's a lot more likely that they were like, boom, send out one signal, and then it would just have them all go off all at the same time.
And I want to remind people that you already have devices that you can commercially get that are thumb drives that you stick into just about anything, and it sends a hardwire signal to something that literally pops something on your motherboard. And I mean, you watch, I'm a big tech dork, but Linus Tech Tips, I think it was him. No, it might have been that other little dork with the glasses. There's a lot of dorks out there I watch. He usually buys like, stuff off of Wish or whatever, but he bought these things and he basically put it into every device and it bricked every single device. And that's because it sends some type of signal that alters your hardware and makes it unusable. I would say that maybe they're doing this through radio waves, like you said, a phone call, a text message. Could be something as simple as a signal from a cellular tower or a satellite. We're talking about satellite technology. The truth of the matter is, Zach, that at this point, we just don't know. And that is extremely troubling. But we do know this is First World Warfare now. It's now. It's not tomorrow. And like you said, what are the chances? Who cares if they even got the new pages on the same day or in succession? The idea that they were able to, they're talking about thousands of devices, right? Yeah. I remember probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, when you had that mafioso bust in New York City and New Jersey. And they were using what they thought were safe phones, right? They were using either Lineage OS or another one of these de-Googled operating systems. They were using Signal, just like Oath Keepers and Proud Boys were using Signal. And from the outset, I think because their distributor, the guy that gave them the phones, said, hey, these are great. They had a backdoor program that logged every single thing on there. I think that's a microcosm for what we're seeing. But anybody who thinks that, you have one of these devices, I mean, look at Ghislaine Maxwell, right? That's something we haven't discussed. The appellate court just upheld her conviction, rightfully so. A lot of people forget the way they found her is they triangulated her cell phone position, and she thought because she was putting it in tinfoil or a microwave that they weren't going to, eventually be able to track it. No, you'd need to shut it off, put it in a Faraday cage, and never use it again. And then who knows? Maybe not. But it's absolutely, this is technology today, Zach.
Yeah. So, one thing that I will say, one of the early videos that I saw of the pagers going off, there was looked like security video from a market. And just before the explosion, there was a definite like ringing sound or a signal that you heard coming in on this dude's pager. And then boom, 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 they all started going off. So I think that's the most likely scenario. But there is no such thing as privacy. And I remember that story. It was like FBI Wireless or something like that. Like they approached somebody looking for phones that would be able to operate in a secure fashion. And the guy just happened to be an FBI agent or something like that. So, yeah, never assume that any of your communications are going to be between you and the person that you're speaking with. I mean, we've entered the surveillance grid economy. There is no way that you're ever going to be able to talk to somebody in private again. As long as you've got electronic devices around you, if they're connected to the internet, if they're a smart device, probably have microphones and you don't even know it, probably have cameras and you might not even know it, they're going to be listening to you. They're going to be listening to you at all times. And the only way that you can be certain that you're going to be speaking in private is if you go out to the middle of nowhere, where there is no technology around you, where the eye in the sky cannot see your lips moving, and you're probably going to have some white noise or some brown noise going in the background, because I think they even have satellites that are sensitive enough to hear you on the ground. I mean, there's no way around it.
We are in the ultimate track trace database society. We're going to take another break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk Vivek Ramaswamy and how I think he nails it when it comes to Kamala Harris. She is indeed no ideologue. Back after this with more Making Sense of the Madness.
Former National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleaded guilty today to lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
Every American needs this historical DVD keepsake. Flynn delivered the truth, whatever the cost. Hand signed by General Michael Flynn. Order now at the Patriot TV store. Use promo code PTV at checkout to get special savings. The Patriot TV store, a secure, hassle-free shopping experience.
The world is about to shift.
Banks are going cashless globally with the emergence of central bank digital currency, which will bring with it programmable money and the ability to turn on or off your purchasing power based on your digital social profile. It's like the equivalent of spyware in your bank account. You need to get out of the system with the world's safest and most precious assets, silver and gold. Call Kirk Elliott Precious Metals at 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900.
And we are back. We are joined by Zach Payne. Now, I've often talked about, people, even Trump, called Kamala Harris a Marxist. And you know me, I don't believe that. I think she's an anythingist. She is about as malleable as it gets. She is a mouthpiece for whatever establishment talking point is hot at the moment. And we've talked to Vivek Ramaswamy in the past. He just put this video out a few days ago, and I really think he nails it. So let's go to it.
You hear a lot of fellow Republicans, will refer to Kamala Harris as a far-left ideologue or a Marxist or a communist. You won't generally hear me leveling that critique against her because I think it gives her too much credit. It gives her the credit of being an ideologue. A guy like Bernie Sanders, he's an ideologue. I disagree with his ideology. But I can respect anybody who at least has a clear set of principles who guides them in their actions and their beliefs, even if I disagree with most of the content of those beliefs. Kamala Harris isn't ideological particularly. I think last night demonstrated this too. We're not even up against a candidate. We're up against a machine. It's a perverted, upside-down version, hellish version of the San Antonio Spurs under Greg Popovich or something like that in the sphere of American politics. You could replace the individual person who's playing in the position, but it's the machine that ultimately achieves its objective. And that's what's really going on in this race. This isn't about Republicans versus Democrats, not quite. It's not about black versus white. It's not about man versus woman. The media, the powers that be, will try to train you, divide and conquer, pit groups against one another, identity politics, vote bank politics. Don't fall for that trick. This isn't about Republicans or Democrats even. It is about the managerial class, the bureaucratic class, and the everyday citizen. That's the real divide in this country. You see in recent days, not only Liz Cheney, but Dick Cheney. People who've watched my race last year know that I've been no fan of him, and his recent endorsement of Kamala Harris has nothing to do with it. But Dick Cheney came out and publicly endorsed Kamala Harris. I considered this one of the less surprising things to have happened in American politics this year. And at the same time, you've seen many former Democrats, even iconoclastic Democrats, that have criticized candidates like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, even from a progressive vantage point, now shifting over to support Donald Trump. So what's going on there? I think it is evidence of the fact that the real divide is not really between the traditional Republican and the Democrat, but between this managerial class, the people who were never elected to exercise political power, be they in the media, be they in certain parts of the corporate capture machine, or especially be they in the administrative state, the unelected bureaucrats who are writing more laws and setting more policies than even Congress, which was elected to actually carry out that function. That's who's actually running the country. It's not Joe Biden. It's not even really Kamala Harris. It's not their ideology, because I don't think they have one. It is the permanent state, the fourth branch of government, the Leviathan, the swamp, the managerial class, the committee class, the bureaucrats. That's who's running the show today. And that's what we're really up against. We're not just running to defeat a candidate. We are running to dismantle a system. That's what Donald Trump meant the first time around when he said he wanted to go in there and drain the swamp. And I think this time more than ever, he has the toolkit to actually do it. You hear a lot.
Well, I certainly hope that he is able to do it. I don't know if that is going to be the case, but it's 3 minutes of pure gold from Vivek Ramaswamy. I think he nails it up and down. He talks about how it's not a left versus right thing. This is truly against an administrative state. And I actually like how he talked about the Spurs and Greg Popovich. Because, Popovich, I'll never forget, my man Latrell Sprewell, I believe, put his hands around Popovich's neck way back in the day when that was, sort of the thing in basketball. Bobby Knight? Anyway, that was a dynasty where there were a few key components. Really, Tim Duncan being that key component that overarched that dynasty from the David Robinson years, into later years. But how you could get rid of a player, but it was the system. It was the team in place. And we've often talked about, well, who's running the show? It's not Joe Biden right now. It's certainly not Kamala Harris. It is that type of machine where you can replace these players one at a time.
Yeah, this system, it was often referred to as the resistance during Donald Trump's first term in office. I mean, it is what comprises the deep state, the unelected fourth branch of government, that managerial class that Vivek was talking about. You know, Kamala Harris is not ideological. I mean, she's an opportunist. She's not a communist. She's doing this for power. She's doing it for money. She's going to be well taken care of if she ushers in another set of 4 years for these people to continue to dismantle the American Republic. Now, I do believe that many of these people in that unelected branch of government are ideologues. They truly are communists. I mean, they want to bring about a complete totalitarian change to the United States of America and strip away what fundamentally our country was founded upon so that they can engage in a deeper level of control over the American people. And at that point, we're really talking about fascism because, I mean, it's this marriage of government and corporate interests. That money coming in from these corporate interests funds these bureaucrats who are also being funded by their ideological leanings. And then they come together. They get to dismantle the United States of America. The corporate interests get to make more money off of the backs of the American people, turn this nation into a third world country by engaging in unrestricted immigration illegally from third world nations, continuing to devalue the dollar and make life hell for every single person who lives here, regardless of where they originated from. And then at the end of the day, people will be so demoralized and also uneducated, they won't know where to turn. They won't know who they should be looking at or who they should be angry at. And Donald Trump truly represents the only candidate in modern times to even come close to identifying and dismantling that. And as far as I'm concerned, the people that he is surrounding himself with this time around, it's the dream team. I love Vivek, okay? And I love him in the exact same way I love Thomas Massie. I really, really hope that Thomas Massie takes on a major role in Trump's new administration. And more than anything, I hope that Trump is successful in coming back. Now, I believe that these people are going to do everything in their power to steal it again, because Donald Trump truly is an existential threat to that branch of government. He's an existential threat to the globalists at the end of the day. And he coming back to government, giving the American people the power that this country was founded upon, continuing to give us our freedoms back, give us our liberty, take the power away from these people who never should have had it in the first place, paring back these federal agencies that exist for no other reason than to justify their own existence and so that they can destroy us and our morale. It truly is beautiful. And this is the fight of our lives. I don't see how anything else could be more important in today's age.
You know, and just because, you know, we didn't mention it when we talked about the second assassination attempt on Trump, I think a third is on the way. Number one, I think the first time they wanted it on television, they very much wanted that public moment. Didn't work out. They were more than willing to do it in private. There wouldn't have been any videotape except for some maybe CCT camera footage of this event.
MSNBC was on the golf course that day.
Interesting. So it'll be interesting to see if they have any footage of it. If they do, yikes, maybe my theory's out there that they're just willing to do it in the dark. But I think in this third attempt, we have to look at things like car accidents, plane crashes. I think his family is on the table, unfortunately. And, you know, I think his kids got it right when they said, hey, my dad is running out of lives. That being said, I want to shift gears because this is a big story and the arrest has happened. Diddy has been arrested, my friend, denied bail. We're talking about freak-offs. We're talking about oil parties. We're talking about videos. What I have not heard yet is any mention of Flavor Camp, where he had youth over at his home during this time period. And anybody wants to know about Flavor Camp, I would direct them to the Howard Stern Usher interview. So what are your thoughts on this whole Diddy might have done did it?
I'm waiting for Justin Bieber and Usher to come forward and talk about the abuse that they likely endured at the hands of Diddy. You know, the stuff that they pulled out of this guy's home, just bottles and bottles of ketamine and intravenous IV bags to replenish people's electrolytes after days-long freak-offs, over 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I mean, this guy truly thought that he was untouchable. I mean, the one thing that really does strike me at the outset of all this, a lot of people are saying that Diddy is the West Coast Epstein, or he's the Epstein of the music industry. I don't doubt that, but they're certainly not treating him like they treated Jeffrey Epstein for so many years. I hope that Diddy survives so that he gets a chance to testify and face his accusers, but I don't have a lot of confidence in our judicial system here in the United States. I'm not surprised that they denied his bail. I mean, when they raided his homes, he was like off to the Canary Islands immediately. So clearly he's got the means and the ability to leave. And even if he posted $30 million bail just so that he could get out of jail, he's probably got a lot more money stashed around the world and he could live comfortably for the rest of his life, even if it was in the middle of a jungle somewhere. So I guess we'll have to see what happens. You know, this is coming out of the SDNY. The SDNY is the same outfit that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell got off rather light on her charges. I mean, she's going to get out of prison someday. She shouldn't. She definitely had done enough to be charged with exactly what Diddy is being charged with, but she was given a rather lenient go of it. And so she will eventually be a free woman again. With what they're charging Diddy with, I mean, he's probably looking at spending the rest of his life in prison. So I just hope that the SDNY isn't making a sort of, grand gesture at the outset to make it appear as if they finally care about this stuff, because it's rather widespread. What I'm most interested in at the end of the day is what's on tape, because we know the videos exist. He was discussing this in the press conference about Diddy's efforts and his activities. I mean, people were being blackmailed. They were actively moving girls and, women around, and even boys. I mean, Diddy had no preference here. I mean, when it came to sexual proclivities, I mean, anybody and anything was on the table. That baby oil does not discriminate.
1,000 bottles of baby oil. My friend, we have run out of time. Let everybody know where they can check your stuff out, brother.
You can find me on most social media at RedPill78 and my website, redpill78news.com. Thank you for having me, Jason.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. One final break. We got Danny Rosenberg coming up after this. More making sense of the madness to come.
Don't let them win. Patriot TV is committed to delivering the truth. America's new network for Patriots is growing fast, and we'd love you to join us as a member of Patriot TV. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver unbiased reporting, thought-provoking discussions, and insights you won't find anywhere else. From in-depth interviews to behind-the-scenes footage, Patriot TV brings you closer to the voices shaping our nation's future. Whether it's political developments, cultural shifts, or global affairs, Patriot TV keeps you informed and empowered. As a member of Patriot TV, you'll get perks like personal invitations to exclusive Patriot TV events, where you can gather and network with like-minded Americans. We'll also host online events throughout the year with General Flynn, who's committed to host live Q&A webinars where callers like you can ask him questions and get real answers. Access to these events will be members only, so go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. We have a great membership option starting at just $9.99 a month, or save with our annual membership for only $99, or take advantage of the best value, the 2-year membership for just $159. Go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. Do your part to make sure the truth gets out to all Patriots and help ensure future programming. Become a member today. Just go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member, join today.
Former National Security Advisor Lieutenant General Michael Flynn pleaded guilty today to lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
Every American needs this historical DVD keepsake. Flynn delivered the truth, whatever the cost. Hand signed by General Michael Flynn. Order now at the Patriot TV store. Use promo code PTV at checkout to get special savings. The Patriot TV store, a secure, hassle-free shopping experience.
The Donor Deck represents a groundbreaking independent crowdfunding initiative driven by patriots like you to bring back our esteemed President Donald J. Trump to office. With unwavering passion, we pledge all profits from the sale to MAGA Inc. and Fight Like a Flynn PAC. The exquisitely detailed challenge coin is a timeless collectible to be passed down to generations. It symbolizes your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. Get your Donor Deck now. Go to the Patriot.tv store and click on Donor Deck. Enjoy the magnificent artwork and scripture on each playing card, knowing our appreciation for your continuous dedication to assisting President Trump in his quest to rejuvenate America to its former greatness. You'll get this keepsake collectible challenge coin acknowledging your support for Donald Trump's run back to the White House, and the Donor Deck of 52 exquisite playing cards, plus a beautiful display case to show your challenge coin. Go to the Patriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now.
We are back. We are joined by Danny Rosenberg. This is his book, Honest Conversations. He has several decades in the fiduciary field in investments. Rosenberg Wealth Management is where you are out of, my friend. IRA Roths. I've got no idea what they are, who they're for, and who should get involved. Tell me about them.
Jason, thanks for having me. Nice to see you again. So you're hearing a lot about Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions because it's one of the last great planning tools that an advisor has. It's a way to turn a taxable asset in a qualified retirement plan into a tax-free asset. So what we're seeing in our practice, and we've actually been involved with Roth IRAs and conversions for 25 years plus. What we're seeing is there's two general groups of people who are really focused on Roth IRA conversions right now. The first is longtime employees, whether it's government or whether it's corporate or whether it's private, and they've accrued a tremendous amount of wealth in their qualified retirement plans, whether it's a 401k, 403b, or a profit sharing plan. And now they have to take distribution of those assets or take control of those assets, and it's going to be taxable income. That's the first group of people. The second group of people are very affluent clients who have accrued wealth in their qualified retirement plans. Many of them have low-cost basis stock, and their portfolios went from, tens of thousands to, in some cases, tens of millions. And they don't need these assets. They want to use this as a legacy for their family, heir, beneficiary, spouse, kids, whoever it may be. And now it's a tax bomb. So those are really the two groups of people, Jason, we're seeing who are inquiring about Roth IRA conversions. And that's really, we're spending a tremendous amount of our practice time on that.
What are the advantages over something like this over other types of investments?
So there's three real reasons why you would do a Roth IRA conversion. The first reason is you really just want to turn a taxable asset into a tax-free asset. The second reason is you want to leave a tax-free legacy to your heirs. So think about it this way. A qualified retirement plan or a traditional IRA is going to be a taxable asset when you transfer that asset to your spouse or to your kids. And if it goes to your spouse, it usually creates what's called the widow tax, which means it will put her in a higher tax bracket because she will have to pay taxes on that pool of money. The second one is for the kids. What if the kids inherit this IRA or a qualified retirement plan you've rolled into an IRA? Then what happens is they have to take distribution of those assets over a 10-year period, which puts them in a higher tax bracket and could complicate their lives as far as income planning and lifestyle. And the third reason, which is really the most prevalent one we see, are clients are trying to get rid of their RMDs, the required minimum distributions, which is an aggregation and calculation of qualified retirement plans and traditional IRAs at age 73. So by doing a Roth conversion, Roth IRA conversion, you have the opportunity to eliminate or reduce those required minimum distributions because Roth IRAs are not considered in the calculation for required minimum distributions.
Now, I know you are big on planning. What would you say to somebody who didn't have this in their financial plan, but does have an investment portfolio, et cetera, to move them over? And then what would you say to somebody that's just starting a plan and why this might work for them?
Well, Roth IRAs are tremendous planning tools. They're using after-tax dollars and they're earning interest and accruing tax-free. And then after a 5-year period, you can take that money out tax-free as long as you're 59 and a half years old. And there's other regulations where you might be able to do it earlier through a lifetime withdrawal. But the bottom line is it is a tax-free pool of money. And anytime you can create a tax-free asset that has the ability to earn interest, it's a great planning tool. Not only for you during your lifetime, it's great for your income planning, and it's great for creating a legacy for your family.
Well, on top of that, you've got this book right here. It's a barn burner. It's pretty short. You know, we have your website up as well. On top of financial planning, you do a little bit of photography and surfing. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So my passion is surfing photography and ocean photography. We had a great swell this week, actually, in Fort Lauderdale, believe it or not. And we had just had it's an epic photography opportunity. To me personally, you know, I'm an open water swimmer, and nothing is greater in excitement and fear and, you know, just pure adrenaline rush. And then there's the art of the shot. You know, when you're in this lineup with the surfers and those waves roll over and you're in a set, that is just the coolest thing of all time. And I love sharing my photography because it makes people happy and it puts a smile on their face. And at the back of my book, I have about 15 or 20 different pages of photography I've taken all over the Caribbean and the Americas and Florida.
Now, folks, you can go to rosenbergwealth.patriottv.store. That's rosenbergwealth.patriottv.store to get started. If they do go there, what can they expect?
So if you have a retirement account, if you have a retirement plan with over $300,000 of assets, go to that link below, answer a few questions, and I will personally set up a meeting with you and decide if a Roth IRA conversion is right for you.
My friend, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Have a great year. Good luck in the elections. And gratitude and appreciation for having me on, Jason.
It's always a pleasure. Danny Rosenberg, everybody. We are out of time. You know the drill. It is not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. And by the way, we should be having more honest conversations out there. I absolutely love you guys, and we will see you on the flip side.